When a regular store goes bankrupt, most people just shrug and move on. But when Mountain Equipment Co-op was sold to an American private equity firm in September of 2020, something very different happened. Canadians didn't just feel inconvenienced, they felt robbed. Social media exploded. Petitions were signed by the tens of thousands. People who hadn't camped in years suddenly felt a deep, personal loss. And the reason for all of that comes down to one simple thing. For 50 years, MEC didn't sell people gear. It convinced 6 million Canadians that they owned the place. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why that promise collapsed, how the board used an obscure bankruptcy law to strip members of their votes overnight, and what actually happened to MEC after the dust settled. It all started in 1971 in Vancouver with a problem that sounds almost too simple. A group of mountaineering students at the University of British Columbia couldn't buy serious climbing gear anywhere in Canada. If you needed expedition-grade equipment, you had to drive south to Seattle and shop at Recreational Equipment Incorporated. That trip came with import taxes, border arguments, and an entire weekend burned on the highway just to buy a rope. So, those students pooled their money, bought gear in bulk, and sold it from a parked Volkswagen van in Vancouver. When that operation started growing into something real, they faced a choice. They could build a normal retail company, or they could do something completely different. They chose to build a consumer cooperative. Here's what that actually meant in practice. A normal company exists to generate profit for its shareholders. A co-op exists to create value for its members. When someone handed over $5 to join MEC, they weren't buying a loyalty card. They were buying a literal legal share in the company. If MEC made a surplus at the end of the year, that money didn't flow to executives or investors. It got pumped back into better gear, lower prices, and environmental programs. Members trusted the price tags because they legally held a stake in the business. Stores became community gathering places. Climbers would meet there, swap route maps, and connect with other members before heading into the backcountry. That structure generated the kind of loyalty that no marketing budget can manufacture. MEC grew from a van into a national chain with over 20 major stores stretching from Victoria to Halifax. It became Canada's largest supplier of outdoor gear, and its private label products regularly outperformed global brands on both quality and price. Then the 1910s arrived, and the board made a decision that started unraveling everything. Athleisure exploded as a trend, and the board chased it. Shelf space shifted away from technical alpine gear and toward yoga pants, casual streetwear, and lifestyle accessories. Expensive flagship stores opened in prime downtown locations. And then came the rebrand. The iconic mountain logo was scrapped and replaced with a flat, minimalist green square that looked like it belonged to a tech startup. The result was an identity disaster. Hardcore climbers walked in and found ice axes hanging a few aisles from cotton hoodies. They felt abandoned and took their money to specialist shops. The casual urban shoppers the board desperately wanted were already loyal to Lululemon or shopping with fast-moving digital brands. MEC ended up stuck in the middle, carrying the overhead costs of a fashion retailer while operating inside a cooperative framework never designed for that kind of competition. By 2019, the financial damage was undeniable. MEC posted $462 million in sales, but still recorded an operating loss of $11.5 million. The company had borrowed up to $130 million through a revolving credit facility with major Canadian banks, and those lenders held first priority over all of MEC's assets. Vendors weren't being paid on time. Insolvency rumors spread through the business press. Then COVID-19 hit. Every store closed overnight. Revenue dropped $90 million between March and September of 2020 compared to the prior year. With roughly $230 million in liabilities and lenders preparing to call in their loans, the board had days to act. Here's where things got legally controversial. As a co-op, MEC was supposed to hold a member vote before approving any sale. 6 million members had that right written into the company's bylaws. But the board knew a vote would be too slow and would almost certainly fail. So they filed under the company's Creditors Arrangement Act, an emergency bankruptcy protection law. The moment that filing was made, the cooperative's internal bylaws, including the voting requirement, were legally suspended. 6 million people lost their democratic rights in an instant, with no warning and no say. The board arranged a sale to Kingswood Capital Management, a Los Angeles-based private equity firm. The condition was that the cooperative structure had to be completely dismantled. Over 73,000 people signed a petition against the sale. Members hired lawyers and challenged the deal in court. The judge ruled in favor of the sale. The co-op was officially dead. Under Kingswood, the company became Mountain Equipment Company, keeping the MEC initials but nothing else. Specialty alpine gear was phased out, layoffs followed, and the community atmosphere members remembered was replaced by the feel of a standard sporting goods chain. Financially, the turnaround worked. MEC became profitable again. but it was unrecognizable to anyone who had held one of those green membership cards. Then in May of 2025, a group of Canadian investors acquired the company, marketing the deal as a patriotic return to Canadian ownership, with promises to rebuild community true stay. Whether that promise holds is an open question. What the full story of MEC makes clear is this: 50 years of telling people they were owners meant nothing the moment debt came due. The company's Creditors Arrangement Act gave the board a legal escape hatch that bypassed the very people who built the company. And millions of those old green membership cards still sit forgotten in wallets across the country, quiet reminders of a promise that was never as secure as anyone believed. Do you still shop at MEC, or did you switch to independent outdoor shops after the sale? And do you still have your green card? Drop your answer in the comments below.